Bob Woodward, Fear, Trump in the White House. Delve into the intricate dynamics of the Trump administration with Bob Woodward's captivating book, Fear, Trump in the White House. Offering riveting insights, this summary explores the internal conflicts, key decisions, and controversial personalities that have shaped the administration since its inception. Key topics include Trump's chaotic leadership style, the revolving door of high-ranking officials, conflicts over military and trade policies, the role of Twitter in Trump's communication, and the tension between Trump's personal views and evidence-backed policy proposals. Prepare to be enthralled as you unwrap the complex layers of the White House under Trump's reign.
Assembling Trump's White House team. Reince Priebus, the liaison between Trump's team and the Republican Party, joined as White House Chief of Staff, while Jim "Mad Dog" Mattis was appointed Secretary of Defense. Despite Steve Bannon's reservations, Mattis successfully gained Trump's favor with his aggressive stance on ISIS. Rex Tillerson, the former ExxonMobil CEO, was appointed Secretary of State. For his economic team, Trump enlisted two Goldman Sachs-linked figures, Steve Mnuchin as Secretary of the Treasury and Gary Cohn as head of the National Economic Council. Mike Flynn, once terminated by Obama, assumed the role of National Security Advisor, but later became the first to resign from Trump's cabinet. James Comey, James Clapper, and John Brennan briefed Trump on Russian interference in the 2016 election. The intelligence also included compromising information about Trump with two prostitutes in Moscow, documented in the Steele dossier. The Afghanistan Debate. In 2011, Trump called for the removal of troops from Afghanistan, labeling the mission a disaster and waste of money. Throughout his administration's first year, the issue of Afghanistan persisted as a contentious debate. Trump and Bannon pushed for a complete withdrawal, while National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster introduced the R4 plan, focused on reinforcing, realigning, reconciling, and regionalizing efforts to better utilize money, troops, and equipment in stable areas. Bannon sought to transfer control from the military to the CIA, but the agency was unwilling or unable to assume responsibility for Afghanistan. Trump ultimately opted for McMaster's R4 plan as he feared being blamed for another 9/11 if he fully withdrew. Despite implementing the R4 plan, the situation in Afghanistan did not improve, leading to tensions between Trump and McMaster. Trump's unwavering trade stance. Trump and Bannon embraced a common belief that globalist politicians were responsible for the decline of American factory jobs. Despite opposition from economic advisors like Gary Cohn and an overwhelming majority of economists, Trump's stance against free trade never budged. Attempts to show Trump the benefits of free trade using data or simplified charts were in vain. At the core of this stance is Trump's philosophy to never show weakness, never apologizing or admitting wrongdoing. Despite being faced with the consequences of pulling out of NAFTA, such as crippling the agricultural export to Mexico and Canada, Trump was still determined to take action against what he perceived as an unfair trade relationship. Luckily, there was a plan to prevent the NAFTA exit notice from being delivered. Taming chaos in Trumpland. Rob Porter, a Harvard-educated lawyer with an impressive political background, took on the role of staff secretary in the Trump White House. He quickly became a stabilizing force amidst the disorder by skillfully protecting President Trump from distractions and guarding him against making impulsive decisions. Alongside Gary Cohn and sometimes even Secretary of Defense James Mattis, Porter often managed to prevent the signing of potentially harmful documents, such as those that would lead to the termination of NAFTA or KORUS. Capitalizing on Trump's ability to forget about unresolved issues unless they were brought up, Porter's vigilance enabled the administration to operate relatively smoothly. Despite efforts by then-Chief of Staff Reince Priebus to establish a more organized system, the White House remained chaotic, resulting in frequent interventions from Porter and his allies to contain a potentially destructive cycle. Renowned journalist Bob Woodward's observations reinforced the idea that the executive office had, indeed, fallen into an ongoing state of dysfunction under Trump's mercurial leadership. The fateful Comey firing. May 18, 2017 marked a dark day in the White House, as it followed Robert Mueller's appointment as special counsel to the Department of Justice's ongoing investigation into Russian interference during the election. This came after President Trump, against Bannon's advice, impulsively decided to fire FBI Director James Comey on May 9, 2017. Trump thought Comey was getting out of control with the Russian investigation and sought counsel from Donald McGahn, who then referred him to Rod Rosenstein, expecting Rosenstein to be sensible and calm Trump down. Surprisingly, Rosenstein agreed to write a memo, focusing on Comey's handling of Hillary Clinton's email investigation, which led to Comey's firing. Soon after, it was revealed that Comey had kept notes on his meetings with Trump, suggesting possible obstruction of justice and prompting Rosenstein to assign Mueller to investigate Trump's actions further. Trump's Twitter endeavors. Hope Hicks, a prominent aide to former President Trump, often expressed concerns about his use of Twitter, citing its political unhelpfulness. Trump's controversial tweets, such as his comment on Mika Brzezinski's appearance, created tension with key political figures like Senators Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski. Despite the concerns, Trump viewed his Twitter account as his megaphone for unfiltered communication with the public, believing it played a significant role in his election victory. Analyses of tweets with over 200,000 likes revealed that the most popular posts were often the most shocking. Trump initially had mixed feelings about the increase in character limits on Twitter, as he saw himself as the Ernest Hemingway of 140 characters. Taming Trump's tweet storms. Trump's bedroom, nicknamed the Devil's Workshop by Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, was where the president would watch TV, become agitated by news, and take to Twitter with impromptu, often concerning messages. Sunday evenings were particularly troublesome, as Trump would indulge in 6 hours of daily cable news. Attempting to limit the damage and create structure, Priebus implemented a Rob Porter-centric system while cutting back on Trump's TV time. This had minimal success. When the Obamacare repeal vote failed, Reince Priebus, who Trump viewed as his link to the Republican Party, sensed the end of his tenure. Upon offering to help find his replacement, Trump said he'd consider it, but soon after tweeted that John Kelly was appointed the new chief of staff. This left Priebus with the impression of betrayal, as Trump seemed to lack empathy and pity. Shortly after, Steve Bannon resigned. However, Trump claimed he was fired. Tension grew between the two when Bannon publicly criticized Trump's compliance with the political establishment. It became evident Bannon was a key source for Michael Wolff's unflattering book, Fire and Fury, resulting in Trump declaring that Bannon had lost his mind. Trump's tax bill and tariffs. At the end of 2017, Trump's administration witnessed the passage of its only significant legislation, aimed at cutting taxes for middle-income families and lowering corporate tax rates to entice U.S. entities back from tax havens like Ireland. However, the intricacies and demands of Washington's politics led to compromises and loopholes, ultimately benefiting the highest earners and corporations instead of the intended middle class. Despite the complexity of the bill, Trump's focus shifted to tariffs, leading to a rift with his economic advisor, Gary Cohn, who resigned in 2018 after exhausting himself fighting losing battles. The close of 2017 saw Trump's tax reform pass, aimed primarily at lessening middle-income families' tax burden and reducing corporate tax rates to bring more money into the country. With big American businesses escaping high domestic tax rates by moving headquarters to lower tax nations, they employed a practice known as inversion, causing concern for Trump. Consequently, Trump desired to slash the U.S. corporate tax rate from 35% to a more competitive 15 or 10%, making it easier to remember and sell to voters. Yet, Trump's economic advisor, Gary Cohn, found that crafting the tax bill was harder than anticipated due to the various demands from senators. Amidst the political compromises and pressure, the final bill incorporated numerous convoluted loopholes, casting doubt on any potential economic benefits. Ultimately, the real beneficiaries were the top earners and corporations, who saw their tax rates drop from 35% to 21%. Smaller businesses and partnerships, like the Trump Organization, even experienced a substantial 20% tax reduction. By March 2018, Trump refocused his attention on tariffs, disregarding Cohn's advice and passing tariffs on imported steel and aluminum. Cohn was convinced that these tariffs would harm businesses, especially those Trump claimed to care about, such as car manufacturers. Although initially committed to combating Trump's odd obsessions and contradictory policies, the mounting chaos proved too much for Cohn. Disillusioned and exhausted, he resigned on April 2, 2018.
In conclusion, Fear, Trump in the White House paints a picture of a tumultuous White House marked by infighting and deep divisions, partly driven by Trump's impulsive decision-making and resistance to expert advice. As powerful figures come and go, administration members struggle to establish a functional and effective order. Military policy, international trade agreements, tax reform, and Trump's infamous tweets all culminate in a whirlwind of uncertainty for the administration's direction. Ultimately, Woodward's account of the Trump White House highlights the chaotic nature of a presidency abounding with unexpected twists and turns, leaving the reader pondering the potential long-term consequences of these tumultuous years.